now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. Following the establishment of a caliphate by ISIS a year ago, life for Christians in Iraq and Syria has gotten considerably worse. Many countries in the region are at their capacity to take in any more refugees. What to do with these people fleeing persecution? Joining us to discuss the dire situation facing Syrian Christians and others and what Western countries can or should do. We're joined by Nina Shea, director of the Center for Religious Freedom at the Hudson Institute, and Father Benedict Kiley, founder of Nazarene.org, an organization focused on raising funds and awareness for the needs of Christians in Iraq and Syria. Thank you both for being here. Nina, I want to start with you. What is the toll a year into this caliphate and the ISIS menace that we're seeing all over the Middle East?
Well, it's immeasurable because every Christian in Iraq basically has been pushed out of Iraq proper into camps, into makeshift housing, in Kurdistan or in neighboring countries. They have lost their lands, lost their homelands, and ISIS has become entrenched in Mosul and in Nineveh Plain. They have taken Christian women and Yazidi women as slaves, and girls, not just women, but girls and children as slaves, sex slaves. They're selling them in the marketplaces. They have eradicated the manuscripts, burned the manuscripts, blown up monasteries from the 4th century, destroyed churches, taken down crosses. It's just they have lost their heritage, their culture. Some of them have lost their lives, and they have lost their future.
You were telling me earlier about signs that are hanging in recently occupied towns.
Yes, there have been signs posted now with the lists of prices for Christian and Yazidi female slaves. The most expensive are the 1 to 9-year-olds, going for $172. The UN, it's just unfathomable. It's ghastly. It's monstrous. And slavery has been eradicated throughout the world, and now they're reviving, and that's what they are calling it in their glossy English language propaganda magazine, the revival of slavery. They're publishing rules about how young, there's no limit. You know, what happens if you die, what happens to your slave? Well, this is real chattel slavery we're talking about. And
where is the world? Where is the UN? Where's the United States? Where are the Western powers? We're hearing nothing about this.
We're not hearing about that. We're hearing about how ISIS is destabilizing this area, but we're not hearing about the toll to Christianity, these 2,000-year-old civilizations, or to the girls and women who are in ISIS paths.
And we've got Westerners running these bordellos.
British women are running the ISIS bordellos who have migrated there for the caliphate, and that's the caliphate has made all the difference in this, because it's really setting a new state, a new civilization, a heaven on earth is what they think of it as. And so there has to be lots of women to attract these endless supply of jihadist men.
I want to come back to you in a moment because we have some news to share with people. Father Kiley, you were just in Kurdistan. You visited these camps. Now, many of these Christians are avoiding the UN refugee camps.
They're avoiding the UN camps, and we've just heard that the UN is going to withdraw its food assistance to the Syrians in September, or August, September, so 500,000 Syrians won't have. The church, I have to say, we can be very proud of the church for the help that they're giving, the practical help. I was there, I saw the signs for aid to the church in need, Catholic Near East Welfare, Samaritan's Purse, our Protestant brothers and sisters. What we're not getting, unfortunately, from the church is the vocal anger, the vocal support for these poor people and for their future. There's a giant yawn from the church.
So is it the local church that's primarily engaged?
The local church, the priests are running the camps there. The priests are exhausted. They're in what they call containers, sort of construction units that we have. The people are living. They've moved in a sort of 3 stages from when they were on the streets last summer to tents or abandoned buildings. Now they're in these containers, but the priests are running the camps. The nuns are running the little schools. All of these people are refugees, IDPs as they're called, refugees really, and there's a mixture of defiance and despair. Defiance will go back, but reality is despair. Who's going to help us?
What are they telling you now? Do they want to stay? We hear from some of the local clergy. I had archbishops sitting in the seats you're sitting in from the region saying, no, the people have to stay. We want everyone to stay here. They're bleeding in the streets. They're blowing them up during services. What should be going on, and what are the people there telling you?
There's a mixture, but the priests are trying to be positive and keep the people thinking, we'll go home, but in private they were telling me they don't see it. One priest said it'll be a generation. He said, get us out. He said, we can rebuild community, but we can't rebuild people. They want to be allowed to leave, and unfortunately, we understand why the hierarchy, because the culture, they don't want the entire culture to be destroyed, but the people may be killed. So it's better to get them out, and so we're moving towards now encouraging emigration, but the question is, who's going to take them?
Mm-hmm. And Nina, this begs the question, who is going to take them? Who is welcoming them? I mean, Jordan is to capacity at this point, and who knows, God forbid, but how much longer they're going to be able to shelter anybody, because they're surrounded now.
Yeah, in Lebanon, we're swamping the lifeboat there. There's so many there. But I got a call today from a friend of yours who said to say hello. It's Hollywood producer Mark Burnett.
Oh, good.
And he is on board with the idea, this movement that we're now part of, that is to get them out, to rescue them.
How do you do that? What's the plan?
The plan is evolving, but we're making there's so many Christians in both Iraq and Syria, and right now Syria is very much of concern because ISIS is attacking Aleppo and Damascus and Hasakeh, the major cities right now as we speak. Those Christians are in danger of losing their lives or their freedom as slaves. So we're making this a priority. We're trying to get charter planes. We have to...
so you're going to airlift the Christians out of the region?
We're going to airlift them out. And we're starting with the Armenians. We don't want to see a second Armenian genocide. The Armenian, they have a homeland of Armenia, and their bishop is saying it's time to go because they are in danger. And from there, we want to work for the other Christians. There's Catholic, there's Protestants, there's Orthodox, many, over 1 million probably in Syria, and then from there, Iraq, if they have no future either.
So how can people help with this effort?
If people want to help rescue these Christians, save their lives, save the girls from the sex slavery, they can contribute to these air charters, and they can contribute by giving sending checks to cradlefund.org. Cradle as in Cradle of Christianity. That's Mark Burnett and Roma Downey, the Hollywood Producers Foundation, and they are committed to helping get the airlifts
Cradlefund.org. No, it seems this situation is so dire now. I mean, ISIS has all but taken Syria. There's really only Damascus left. How much longer can that stand?
It's a very dire situation, and it's compounded by the fact that they have war booty from Mosul, $27 billion worth of American armament and equipment that they took as spoils of war last year. So little Christian militias are trying, but there's really no hope. And there is no, as Father said, the UN is cutting off food because this is an untenable situation of just millions of refugees that's been going on for so long now.
But world governments are not giving, they're not answering their responsibilities. And this is part of our other challenge, is making the West in particular realize that we have a responsibility. We're watching, as one person described to me in Iraq, a slow-motion genocide. The priests, the nuns, the people are saying, why is the church not speaking up? Why is it not being called a genocide? Where is the worldwide prayer campaign?
I was going to ask, where's the spiritual response to this? I mean, there doesn't seem to be any. I mean, every now and then, in our parish, somebody will have a little intention in the Middle of for the Christians in the Middle East.
Very little awareness here.
None. Nobody realizes that there are brothels opening and they're selling little children into sex slavery.
Well, when I was there as a priest, I was asking the other priests, and perhaps it's a little bit different to be a priest rather than a member of an NGO, I was asking them that specific question for the spiritual needs, and they were all saying, we need more prayer. I suggested to them perhaps we would ask the Pope, petition the Pope for a worldwide rosary. St. Pius V saved Western civilization by ordering a worldwide rosary, and the Battle of Lepanto destroyed the invasion. We could ask every bishop and every priest in the world to say the rosary once a week, 15 minutes. It's not much to ask for, but the power of that prayer would be extraordinary. And they were all saying, please do this, please pray for us.
Did you talk to Muslims in these camps in this area?
There were no Muslims in those particular camps. They're all Christians. But I did have supper the second to last night with a very nice Muslim man. His brother and father were killed by Al-Qaeda, blown up by Al-Qaeda. His hope, of course, is that Kurdistan would be a secular state and give freedom, promise freedom. We have to keep the pressure on, though. Yeah,
because the Kurds are not, they're really kind of hands-off. They're letting people stay there, but there's no real assistance.
I met with a Kurdish representative to the United States just 2 weeks ago, and she told me that they are almost financially bankrupt, that they're in very serious trouble themselves. Baghdad is not supplying them with any help. They're not passing through the weapons or the funds from their oil proceeds. And the Peshmerga haven't been paid for 3 months. So it's a dire situation.
And there's a long history of distrust as well between the Christians and the Kurds, unfortunately.
Right. And the Peshmerga, this is the real last line of defense for these people.
Yeah,
these fighters.
That's the only army that has been effective so far in taking back any land that's been taken from by ISIS. You know, you asked about the Muslims. I am a vice chair of a foundation that helps educate Christian Iraqi refugees in Jordan and Erbil in Kurdistan. And our program director, who is a Muslim woman, we had to work to evacuate her this week. She got death threats from ISIS that on her cell phone saying that they knew her family lived in Jordan as well. She got the death threats in Erbil. We have families going to school, their children are going to school in Catholic schools in Jordan. These are refugees, Iraqi Christian refugees. They're telling us that all the time they're getting knocks at the door at night in Jordan saying convert or pay the tax or die. So Christians are targeted, and anyone who's helping them is also at risk. So it's...
Father, you want to add anything before we run out of time? What should people do?
I would ask the people to speak to their bishops, to ask their bishops to petition the Holy Father, to call for a worldwide rosary. I would ask for them not to think this is something that is unimportant. Remember, Jesus said to St. Paul on the road to Damascus, "Why are you persecuting me?" They are our brothers and sisters. We must care about them. We must do something. But worldwide prayer from the Holy Father, and if the Holy Father spoke up about emigration, help these people, spoke to the Western leaders, open your doors, it would make all the difference.
Very good. Nina Shea, Father Kiley, thank you both for being here and for all your help. To help the effort that Nina mentioned, these air charters, you can go to cradlefund.org. I'm going to tweet that out after the show. And of course, Nazarene.org is Father Kiley's organization, doing such a great job.